Well, speaking of history, a man that
Here.
he put his name in the history books. The guy to win the last race at Manzanita, Jesse Hockett, joins us now. What's going on, Jesse?
How you guys doing tonight?
We're doing good, man. You're a hard guy to get a hold of. I'm sure you know every NASCAR team and all the sprint car teams around the country are trying to get a hold of you. All the radio shows. You're kind of rock star now. You won the last Manzanita race. That had to feel good, buddy, didn't it?
Yeah, it definitely felt good. I don't know about everybody wanting to get a hold of me, but I saw what time it is. I knew I had to call the RacinBoys. I needed to be on here tonight, and wish I was there in studio. I'm just busy up here in Indianapolis with a few things, and just getting ready to head home. But yeah, that Manzanita win, it was definitely special. Been going out there for a long, long time, and Jim Massey always gives me a great car to come out there. And I learned on his dollars at that track, and I ended up racing for Steve Stroud there the final night, and that always also worked out really nice because he's one of my good sponsors, and Bob Ream and those guys put a great car together, and everything just worked out. I couldn't ask for a better ending to that deal, and everything kind of came together there that last night. It was really, really special.
All right, before we get into the race, let's talk about what happened the night before. You were at Eldora. You had to make it into the A main by running the B. You started at the back of the A. You run third. Now, we know that everybody likes racing Eldora, and that's great, and that was all fun and a great run and all. That was cool. But when you got the word that Manzi rained out, and you knew you had a chance to go there and run that race, because I know I talked to you this last week, you really wanted to be at Manzi more than any place in the world. What was that feeling when you knew you had a chance to get back there and run that race on Sunday?
Yeah, it was a weird feeling. It's like somebody's looking down, and making a wish come true. I definitely wanted to be out there, and when I found out it was rained out, I immediately got on the phone with Jim Massey, and he had already had commitments to someone else out there. So, it just happened to be that Steve Stroud, the guy that owns Parker Store, called me, and he was just congratulating me basically on running good at Eldora because he had been listening on the internet there. And while I was on the phone with him, I just asked him what he was doing with his car, and he says it's not really ready, but if you want to run it, just come on out and we'll get it ready. And he called Bob Rim, which is his normal driver, and they got everything ready to go. And it just all worked out. Like I couldn't ask for any more of a storybook ending to one of my favorite tracks. So it was really special to go out there kind of on the last minute. I never drove that car before, and we were fast right out of the box.
Walk us through the travel itinerary, Jesse. From the time you got down at Eldora on Saturday night, you got to fly clear across the country, not for the next night, but for the next afternoon. Take us through that trip and how you got that done.
Well, basically, it was kind of a late night at Eldora, and we ran well. So, when you run well at a race, you kind of hang around afterwards and visit with the fans and everybody. And so it was kind of late just getting back to Indianapolis. Is kind of where we're based out of over the weekend. And we got back there about 2 o'clock. So I got to bed at 3 a.m. and got up at 5 to go to the airport. Flew out at 6. I guess it all started. I got a plane ticket, at 11:30 at night on the way home, or actually it was maybe 12:30 at night on the way home to Eldora to fly out at 6 a.m. So I flew out at 6 a.m. the next day. Got to Phoenix at 10:30. 10:30 got to Phoenix, grabbed a bite to eat, went to the track, and just started working on getting the car ready. And it was a long afternoon, I will tell you that.
Let's get into the race. I think I love the quote that Lonnie Wheatley had in the press release where he said it was a classic dogfight between you and Kevin Swindell. Let's go through that race and just talk about how that all transpired and how you ended up winning this race.
Yeah, it's kind of strange because Kevin and I have went at it a lot of times, and there's always one guy when you race that you want to beat, and he's one guy that I just absolutely cannot stand it if he outruns me. And we've had a lot of good races together, and we've outran each other a lot of times. And whenever I knew he was there, I knew he was going to be the man I had to beat, and among other guys. But I knew he would be up front. We already went out at that track a few times, and he ended up winning the Western World after my engine blew up. So there's no one I wanted to beat worse than him. And whenever he drove past me there in the feature, because I led the very beginning of the race, and he kind of caught me sleeping. I was just kind of biding my time and taking care of my tires and everything, and he drove by, and I got up on the wheel and ran him back down and gave it everything I had to get back by him, and bounced off the fence a couple times and just about did everything it took to get back by him, and And then he got back by me, and we were back and forth for about 3 or 4 laps. It was just a heck of a race, and we were just both let it all hang out. There was nothing left on either car. We were both running as hard as we could run, and we approached lap traffic side by side, and we approached lap traffic side by side. The first car we came to, we split him, and then I kind of got ahead of him in lap traffic, and he got ahead of me, and then I went around 3 guys on 3 lap cars at one time, getting into 1 and 2 around the top out of the rubber, which he kind of stayed down on the rubber, and I was able to drive by him on the outside, and after that I just kind of pulled away. But man, it was definitely a nail biter there for a while, and I was just so glad that the fans got a good race there last time there.
Have you ever driven any harder? Has there ever been a win that means more to you? You've won a lot of them. You've won, the Sprint Bandits out at Lakeside, 10,000 win. You've won a lot of big races, a lot of prestigious races last year. But this, because it's the last race at Manzi, has to rate right up there, doesn't it?
I mean, it's right there with them. I've won. That's one of the least amounts of money I've ever won at a race, but it paid. I mean, it paid good, but I won a lot more high-paying races. But as far as just winning a race, it was right up there at the top, even though it didn't pay quite as much. It meant a lot, and to win it for all the people that have supported me out there, and when I go out there, I'm like it's just like I'm still at home. It's like another family I got out there. All the friends that I've made out there. So to win with all those guys there in attendance and all the fans and everybody that I know out there, and to do it in Steve Stroud's car, and with Jim Massey there cheering me on. I mean, he was probably cheering as hard for me as he was for his own car. So it definitely made it special, and I'll never forget that for sure.
Jesse, describe the emotion, not just yourself, but just everybody that was at the race on Sunday. That you have to be happy you won the race, but it's also be sad that that's the last time you're going to be there. What was it like
victory,
after the race?
Yeah, it's just it's kind of a weird feeling all day. It's like, when someone close to you dies, you just don't really want to believe it, and it was kind of like that. No one wanted to believe it until the final checkered flag dropped, and then it was definitely emotional after that. There was every car that was there got on the racetrack and went out there, and there was like 80 cars on a racetrack at once, side by side, 2 wide, and a buddy of mine that lives out there, Casey Schumann, him and I were side by side on that, and it was we were led the whole field around there, so it was definitely emotional. And I mean, there was all the fans came to their feet, came to the fence, and it was an emotional deal, that's for sure.
You know who we have in the studio filling in for you this week? We've got Jonathan Cornell, the Saturday night's winner at the Midwest versus Northern Plains shootout up there at I-80, and he's sitting here. I'm going to let him jump in here right now.
Hey, Jesse. First and foremost, I want to say congratulations on your win. I'm here in the studio keeping your seat warm for you.
Yeah, congratulations on yours, too. That's definitely a breakthrough win for you, and I'm really happy that you got that.
Yeah, thanks a lot. And also, I was just going to kind of ask some questions. I know you have a busy schedule this year, but I think a lot of the fans want to know, too, are you going to be back in the central Missouri area running, at Lake Ozark or Double X Speedway any of the summer?
Yeah, I'll be running a lot at Double X just because it's on Sunday nights, and a lot of the trips will be back real late on Saturday nights. But since I run my own car, I'll be able to race a lot on the Sundays. Just I'll have it sitting there ready, and I always have a good time going down there and racing with you and Randy and everybody. So, I'll definitely be there a lot. And then Lake Ozark Speedway, every open Saturday night, I'll be there. So I try to race as much at home as I can and keep polished up on my skills and, able to try a few different setups and whatnot there around home. And it's always fun to come back and race with you guys, and everybody back there is tough. A lot of people don't realize how tough it is, at Lake Ozark in California until they go there themselves, and like you and Martin and everybody. I mean, guys, like, we can race with pretty much anybody with the 360, so it's definitely a lot tougher than what people give it credit for being a local races and stuff.
It says a lot about the group of drivers that we have in the Midwest here. We've said it for years on Track Talk and Sports Radio 810 WHB that, back in the 60s and even in the 50s, this was a mecca of sprint car drivers back in the day. And it's kind of, regressed. It's just not the same as it was back then. And now we see drivers like yourself and Jonathan and Billy and Brian and guys that are really, really good sprint car racers. We're starting to get that reputation of having great quality drivers here again.
Yeah, whenever I was younger, I was worked at the go-kart track there in Elliott, and there was two guys that I always seemed like they always really knew what was going on with the go-karts, and I knew they were going to be good. I didn't know exactly what direction they were going to race or what they were going to race, but Josh Fisher and Cornell, they both they basically won everything you could win, and they a lot of go-kart racers, the kids, they just really don't have a clue what's going on, but those two guys, they knew everything about racing, and they understood it. And both of those guys, you know, I race with them all the time with the sprint car now, and yeah, definitely we've had the Rookie of the Year in the 360 division 2 years in a row out of Missouri, so those guys do a great job. And like I say, whenever I saw those guys race right up from the start, I knew they were going to be pretty good. But it's fun that we got some tough competitors there around locally.
Bob Ream, we can't forget about him. Did he normally drive that 8 car? What did he say to you after the race, Phoenix?
Yeah, you know, this is I don't know how happy he was to get a call at 11 o'clock at night to get a car ready for the next day, but you know, it's part his car too, and I don't really know who owns the car or what, but I know they all worked as a team, you know, and Bob Ream did a great job getting the car ready, and such last minute, I mean, they weren't even prepared to race that car that day, and him and all his guys worked hard, you know, to get the car ready that night before, and got up early in the morning, and we basically, I just had to put my seat in and bolt my shocks on, and we were ready to go. So they had everything under control, and you know, appreciate those guys working so hard to make it possible.
All right, Jesse, congratulations, man. That was a big win, the win of the week, I think, when it comes to ASCS, and everybody wanted to win that race. Congratulations. We're so proud of you, and we'll be talking to you next week. Maybe you can get back in here in the studio, okay?
Yeah, that'd be nice. Hopefully, maybe win Little Rock, and then I'll be in the studio, hopefully.
That would be great. All right, buddy. Thanks a lot.
Yep, see you guys.
All right.
We'll be seeing him down there. Brian Brown also sits in on the Lucas Oil ASCS show, so
I
he'll be
think
in
we
throughout
might have
the year.
another guy we need to invite up once in a while right here, too.
Absolutely. Jonathan Cornell joining us, and it brings a good luck if he comes in the studio.
Yeah,
But,
I hope so. Anyways,
We've had a lot of people have good luck that have been on this show, a lot of winners, so.
we'll be more than happy to come next week if that's the case.
All right, okay. All right, listen, we're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to be talking to the voice of the national tour, Mike Sweeten.